In this chapter, we will go over the basics of animation, starting with changing the transform properties of a layer and continuing with animating these changes over time using keyframes. By the end of this chapter, you should be comfortable adding and changing keyframes as well as copying and pasting them. This chapter will be the starting point of your animation work in After Effects. You will be able to create your own loops, lower thirds, backgrounds, or whatever else you wish to add to your compositions. I would like to continue by exploring the transform properties of the layers in the timeline. For that, we're going to have to create a composition. I have in my project panel two files, Quad 01 and Quad 02. These are included in your project files in the Chapter 2 folder. I'm going to go ahead and drag Quad 01 to the new composition icon to create a new composition. And there you go. As you can see, we have now the layer in the timeline, and I can go ahead and expand it by clicking on this icon right here. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit taller so that we can see it better. Under the layer now, we see the transform properties of this particular layer. I can also expand or twirl down this. These are the transform properties: anchor point, position, scale, rotation, and opacity. The anchor point refers to the point of origin for all of the transform changes. For example, this would be the pivot point for the rotation of the layer. Just scrub the rotation value here. If I move it, the pivot point for the rotation changes. This is also the point of origin for scale changes. As you see, the layer is growing and becoming smaller based on that point. This, again, is the anchor point. When it comes to position, there are two things to consider. Let me first go ahead and reset this. The anchor point refers to this particular icon right here in the middle. By default, it's going to be in the middle. The anchor point property means where that point is in relationship to the layer. Position, on the other hand, refers to where that anchor point is in relationship to the viewable area of the composition. In other words, I can grab the anchor point tool, also known as the pan behind tool, and I can move where the anchor point is. And you can see that both position and anchor point values are changing. I can also grab the selection tool, which is this arrow right here, and I can move the layer itself. Notice that now only the position of the layer is changing. What that really means is that the anchor point's position in relationship to the viewable area is changing, but in relationship to the layer itself is not. I'll go ahead and reset this. Notice that both anchor point and position have two values. These refer to X and Y. X refers to how many pixels side to side, and Y up and down, kind of like the old Cartesian coordinates from school. The midpoint for this particular layer is 160, 120. So 160 for the X, 120 for the Y. And that is exactly in the middle of the layer, because this particular layer happens to be 320 pixels wide by 240 pixels tall. Coordinates 0, 0, that is 0 for X and 0 for Y, are on the top left-hand side corner of your composition or layer. In other words, if I move this anchor point to the top left, notice that my values are very close to 0 in position. I'll reset. If I grab the pan behind tool and move the anchor point to that same corner, notice that now the values for anchor point and for position are very close to 0 as well. I'll reset it again. Scale is measured in percentages. 100% just means that this is the native size of the image. I can make my layer larger by scrubbing the number. Rotation is measured in degrees. Notice that rotation has two numbers. The first one means full revolutions or full turns. The second one is part of a revolution. This one is measured in degrees. So full turns and degrees. If we get to 360 degrees, well, that's a full turn, so you're going to see that the first number, will change to a 1. I will reset this again. Opacity is measured in percentages. Nothing can be more opaque or solid than 100% or more transparent than 0. All of these transform properties have shortcuts assigned to them. So, with the layer selected, we can press the letter A for anchor point, and only the anchor point property will show. P for position, S for scale, R for rotation, and T for opacity. If you would like to see more than one value at the same time, for example, you want to see size or scale and opacity, you would select the letter S for scale and then Shift T for opacity. And now you see both of those properties showing at the same time. The usage of these keyboard shortcuts becomes really important when you have many layers in a composition, as real estate becomes very essential